I talk with a lot of women who have done a lot of hard inner work. They maybe have left their destructive marriage through separation or divorce, and sometimes, even years afterwards, they wonder, did I do the right thing? Have I been a bad example of Jesus because I left my marriage and got divorced? It is very possible to leave your marriage and be a bad example to Christ or for Christ, not because you took off your wedding ring, but because you live in a state of constant bitterness, hopelessness, anger, resentment, depression. There are also plenty of women who stay in their marriages for any number of reasons and are also incredibly poor examples of Christ. They're still legally married, but they're also angry and bitter and depressed and spiteful and completely void of any of the fruit of the Spirit, of love, joy, or hope. So many women think the be-all, end-all in pleasing God is staying married. It is not. It's what's happening in your heart. How you stay, how you leave matter. So it is possible to leave a destructive marriage in a Christ-like and God-honoring way. In Philippians 2:4, the Apostle Paul says this, "Let each of you look not only to your own interests, but also the interest of others." Now, this doesn't mean that you should never look out for your own safety and your own sanity. By all means, you should. And sometimes that means you need to leave a destructive person. But to be a godly wife, you also need to look out for your husband's interests. So what does that mean? What is in your husband's best interest when he's had a pattern of being disrespectful, deceitful, destructive, abusive, indifferent to your needs or feelings? Is it to stay in the marriage, ignore his sin, make him comfortable by cooking him dinner, taking care of the kids, being his sex partner? Or would it be better for your husband if he woke up to the darkness of his own sin and repented of his destructive behaviors? To be a godly wife, you must love your husband, even though he feels like an enemy. But loving him doesn't mean he gets all the benefits of a healthy marriage. Loving him doesn't mean he gets unconditional relationship. Romans 8:38 is very clear that nothing can separate us from the love of God, but at the same time, the Bible teaches that our sin does separate us from a close relationship with God. And so if Jesus doesn't offer unconditional relationship with people, even though he loves them, I don't believe he expects any differently from you or from me. Sin separates us from God and from one another. And just like we need to see our own sin and repent to God, your husband needs to see his sin and how it's damaging his family. C.S. Lewis writes this, "Love is not affectionate feelings, but a steady wish for the loved person's ultimate good as far as it can be attained. Until that happens, you may be more of an example of Christ and representing your husband's best interests by separating from him. The best thing you can do to love your destructive husband is to speak the truth. Pray for his eyes to be opened and allow the natural consequences of his destructive behaviors to hopefully teach him the high price of repeated and unrepentant sin. Continue to ask God to show you how to be an example of Christ-likeness in this time. Now, if you do choose to separate or even to divorce, not everyone will agree with your decision. That's okay. The religious leaders certainly didn't approve of Jesus and his decisions, and he represented the Father perfectly. So, until next time, God bless.